Welcome to the Kingston Creative Meetup. This time around, we're talking about entrepreneurship. I mean, creative entrepreneurship. How does it actually work in Jamaica? Does this space afford creatives to be real entrepreneurs or to be successful entrepreneurs? Tonight, we're going to be talking to some creative entrepreneurs who will give us a little sneak peek into their own journeys, challenges they have, and how they have also been able to be successful in the Jamaican space. And of course, we'll be hearing from others who will share what are some things that creatives can do in Jamaica. If you want to be an entrepreneur, how can you make sure that you are actually successful? The hashtag for tonight is Creative City and Level Up. So if you are online, if you're on Kingston Creatives, Instagram, Kingston Creative JM, YouTube, Twitter, please share with us your own journeys as well. And of course, remember that you can share your questions with us, and we will be able to answer those and go into those as well. So you can use Slido. I'll ask the team to share that information with me later so I can tell you how to jump onto slido.com, share the questions with us so we can feed it to the panelists. Maybe they can teach you from their own experience as well. So guys, it's gonna be a very, very interesting night. Tonight we have Ayana Dixon, who is an illustrator of ASD. We have Harold Davis, who is the Deputy CEO of JBDC. And of course, we also have Sanjay, and he's a TV personality, producer, and owner of Bella 23 Creative Guest House. So I'm gonna have them introduce themselves to you so that they can tell you a little bit about who they are, what they do. Thank you for joining me on screen, Ayana and Harold. I'm waiting for Sanjay. Welcome again. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, what do you do? I already said, you're an illustrator, but what does that really mean for the people on the chat who want to know who you are and what you're about?
Is that for me? You're muted right now.
I am muted.
No, I was also muted. All right. Hi, guys.
You're muted. Okay, go.
Yeah, basically, I'm a fashion designer and fashion illustrator. And what that basically means is that I illustrate on a range of things. So it's not just about clothes. My brand ASD it's a lifestyle brand geared towards empowering women through illustration. So we have like the scarves, we have like the dresses. I don't know if you can see behind me. We have like pajamas, notebooks, mugs, anything that can have an illustration on it, representing women of all different sizes, hair types, skin tones. Yeah, that's what ASD is about. So that's basically what it means to be an illustrator and fashion designer.
I love it. I'm going to need you to put me up on one of those headbands, girl. Let's after this. So over to you, Sanjay. Talk to us a little bit about all of those things that I just said. And I was so tired after introducing it because it's nothing. So please break it down for us, please.
So first of all, I just want to apologize beforehand if I seemed a little bit distracted throughout the course of this. I'm actually at the hospital. My father's in the hospital right now, and I'm actually in Florida, in Miami right now. So if you can do me a favor and just repeat the question one more time, because people are coming up to me at the hospital to ask me questions as well.
No problem, we understand. I was just saying you could introduce yourself to us, and I was saying earlier that I said a lot of things about you. So if you could break it down for us, that would be great.
Okay, yeah, cool, no problem. I mean, so yeah, as you mentioned, my name is Sanjay. I'm an artist amongst. Well, actually, I see myself as an artist first. I'm a musical artist. That's actually one of my main creative areas of interest. And then from there, I kind of branched out into television production. So I became a television producer, and then from there also a television personality and host. And then from there, I eventually got into. I started a creative guest house actually. At one point, it was also causing a little bit of confusion because it's called Bella 23 Kingston Creative Guest House. So people were like, Kingston Creative has a guest house. But at the time, I actually named it before I even knew about Kingston Creative. But so yeah, those are the basic main areas of creativity that I delve in business wise. Yeah, I guess that pretty much wraps it up for me.
All right, well, that's a mouthful. So I'm looking forward to talking to you later. So just to kind of hear how you're able to really navigate all of those different elements of your creative entrepreneurship journey. Before we go into that, Harold, I want you to tell the people, you know, a little bit about what you do as well as a part of this conversation.
Cool, yeah, man. Thanks for having me, Casey. Pleasure to be here. Like you said, I'm the Deputy CEO of JBDC. JBDC. Hi, Ayana. Good to see you. Ayana is one of our past employees who we are very proud of. So we help entrepreneurs to develop, helping them from concept straight through to market, you know, and all in between, providing them with technical services and basically just helping them to develop and grow. But before I close, another thing about me is that I'm also a creative. I'm a musician. I have 2 studio albums and you know, I perform all over the place and that type of thing as well. So I'm a creative as well, and I fully get the creative space and the creative headspace as well, because it's in my head as well.
I'm beginning to love this room even more and more. It's just flowing all around. So thank you so much, Harold. So Sanjay, I mean, talk to us a little bit about, you know, your journey and what you would say success looks like for a creative person. But before even going to that, tell us a little bit about some of the things you mentioned. Like, what's a creative guest host? Like, what does that look like?
So Belly 23 is actually a creative guest house in the sense that we 95% of our clientele is dancehall dancers from all across the world. So we get people, I mean, right now we have people from Israel, we have people from Poland, we have people from just all over Europe. You know, I mean, we get people from Russia, we get people from South America, and they're all creatives. They are specifically dancehall dancers, but we also get, you know, artists and stuff like that as well too. The guest house itself is dancehall themed, so like all the rooms, all the artwork, all of this kind of stuff. So that's basically what it is. It's just like a guest house that has a specific niche of creative people.
That is very, very cool, I must say. I mean, you know, you talking about it, I can feel the energy of walking into a guest house like that. That is themed dance hall and just creative energy all around. That's very, very cool. I mean, talk to us a little bit about I mean, you said that you have your TV personality, you do producing. What does that look like when it comes to challenges as a creative entrepreneur? What are some of the things that you had to overcome to make those things successful?
So, I mean, particularly for me, I've never actually I've kind of common sense my way through business. Like I don't, it's funny because lately I've been trying to get like some small loans and stuff like this. And I realized how little I actually know about the business part of doing business. You know what I mean? I'm a creative and I've approached business as a creative, but I'm a TV producer. So I also have a very detailed and organized side of my personality as well too. So I think, those are the 2 strengths that I've been able to draw upon, you know, I mean, being very detailed and organized, but also being like identifying as a creative. But in terms of business, I probably wouldn't be the best person to speak on that aspect, but I can say, you know, it's been difficult in the loan regard, you know what I mean? Because a lot of times I feel like a lot of creatives sometimes it's hard to validate your business as a creative. And so, you know, like even, especially with me, like I'm a hospitality-based business, even though it's a very strong creative niche. But you know, we were pretty badly hit by Corona, as hospitality is probably one of the heaviest hit industries in the Corona thing. So in the pandemic, so it was kind of difficult. It's been difficult, kind of getting support, financial support, and you know, I mean, that kind of stuff in general. I feel like all of the creative aspects, depending on what your creative field or endeavor is specifically, you're probably going to face specific challenges. As an artist, I can tell you that when I was organizing tours and stuff with like a part, like Shelly Belly is one of the dancers that I work a lot with. And, you know, when we were organizing when we would get a show or when we were organizing tours, one of the problems that we would face is that it would be very, very difficult for him to get visas to go to a lot of these places. And I feel like, you know, what people need to realize is that creative people don't really want to leave Jamaica. Like, you know what I mean? We just want to be able to make money and come back to Jamaica. You know, so I think we could get a little bit more support in terms of like, you know, because a lot of times our audience is overseas as creative people. And so sometimes we could get more support in helping to connect to our audience a little bit more and a little bit better. through facilitation of travel and stuff like this. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much, I guess, from my perspective. What was the other field? I was a TV producer. I don't think I could speak too much about it as a TV producer, because it's not like I have my own company as a TV producer. I freelance there, so I wouldn't have too much knowledge in terms of that. But I would say, generally speaking, there's a lot of bureaucracy in Jamaica, in business overall. And I feel like a lot of it comes from the fact that a lot of the people who have the power to make changes, they don't really probably deal with the bureaucracy. They send their drivers, they send their people to stand in line at the tax office. You know what I mean? They don't actually have to deal with the bureaucracy, so it doesn't change. They don't feel the need to change it. You know, people always say, like, it's like the roads. Your road won't get fixed until a politician falls in that pothole or something like this. So I feel like it's the same thing with the bureaucracy in Jamaica. A lot of it won't get fixed until the people who have the power to change it experience it for themselves.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. And I mean, you touched on the next question, the follow-up. I mean, at first, I want to just highlight some of the things I heard you mention. For entrepreneurs, creative entrepreneurs, being detailed and organized are some things that are going to be crucial to their success. And looking in the space, you mentioned some of the challenges that you faced, and that points to, you know, correct me if I'm wrong. Is it that you're saying the Jamaican space doesn't necessarily lend itself to creative entrepreneurs being successful, or is it just very challenging? What would you say about that?
I wouldn't say yes, and I wouldn't say no. I would just, you know, I guess I was asked to speak upon the challenges as a creative. I mean, it's not that it doesn't necessarily lend itself. There are ways in which it does. You know, I mean, Jamaica is a great hype machine. Jamaica is a good way to make a name for yourself, and Jamaica is a good way to kind of build a buzz. You know, when you do have talent, when you do have something good going on. There are many ways in which Jamaica does facilitate creativity, but there's also many ways in which it doesn't, you know?
Appreciate that. Thank you so much for that. Ayana, I mean, I'm gonna jump to you to also share with us some of the challenges that you would have faced in coming into your own niche, because this is something different that you do, that you don't see it a lot in the Jamaican space. So if there's another creative on the line who's thinking about doing something similar, what would you share some of the challenges that you faced in doing something like this?
Well, I think Sanjay kind of touched on the majority of them, like finances, the business aspect. I feel personally for myself, and I think most creatives can like actually agree with me, or they kind of feel the same way. It's just that we're creatives. We're not thinking about the dollars and cents, the business aspect, you know, like that part is the hard part. So being creative is the easy part, you know? So I think for me, that was something that I definitely needed to work on. I mean, when I just came back home from school, I went to school in New York. I actually was working at JBDC for a while and kind of, you know, teaching some skills. And then I heard about different programs through JBDC, as well as different programs that, you know, we're able to apply to, and I applied to them. Branson Center of Entrepreneurship, Scotiabank Vision Achiever, just so I'm able to get like the business components. As Sanjay also said, finance is, I mean, that's, a lot of people don't take the creative industry as seriously as they should. I mean, Jamaica is like the creative hub of the world, right? We are exporting music, dance moves, you name it, we've exported it. And all of that is based in the creative industries. And we don't necessarily have the support that, I mean, for the impact that we have, we don't have that support, right? So I think that's definitely a challenge, and that's something that I wish would be kind of addressed. And I mean, it's not just one business coming in and saying, hey, we're going to just give everybody money. It's at a larger scale, right? It's, you know, whether it's grant funding, whether it's facilities for people to apply for small business loans, or payday loans at a different rate for creatives, or whatever it is, project-based loans, etc. Mentorship, I mean, I think that's one of the questions that you're going to ask about. But for me, just because I think, I mean, my parents are creatives, right? My dad's an architect and my mom's a textile designer. So I've always had creatives around me to guide me in the creative sense. I kind of had to say, okay, well, I need business people. So, I looked out to different boutique owners. Clearly the fashion industry is kind of small here. So, you reach out to somebody that you see that's doing well, and, you like what they're doing, and you say, hey, can I come and work for you or assist you or whatever it is, and get some mentorship. And that has been very helpful in my journey. People like Michelle Coulson from Soho, Carrie Ann Clark from, Carrie Man Woman Home, as well as the collection model, but getting mentorship in the business side, and also those people are in the fashion business, but also going more into the business side. So like right now, my mentor is Cherie Martin. She's, I can't remember her title right now, but she's at NTV and she's amazing in business. Like she looks over everything. I send her, like my budgets, etc. But getting the hand-holding that you need, you get me? It's very important. Ask for help when you need help. But the challenge is, for the most part, financing, the business aspect, the business support. And for someone like myself, Sanjay doesn't have this problem, but sourcing raw materials, like, oh my goodness, between the exchange rate and the options locally, come on. We need better exchange rates and we need better options. So those would be the things that I would kind of say are the main challenges. I think everything else is like, everybody has those problems.
And you touched on something very important when it comes to seeking mentors. And how you mentioned it, a lot of people may say, wow, is it links? And you have to know somebody, like where do I start? Like, I don't know how this thing goes. Like, how would you walk someone through? I'm a creative. Imagine I don't know where to start. And you're saying to me, hey, Tavia, you need to get a mentor.
Right. Okay, so the first thing is, a mentor can be anybody, right? It doesn't have to be a fancy person that you set up a fancy meeting with and you have to buy them lunch or anything. It can be anybody. It can be your auntie. It can be a friend of a friend or your friend's mother, or, it can be anybody in close proximity to you that has some amount of wisdom on whatever it is, not necessarily just your business, but your life, right? Also, there's the internet. Oprah's my mentor. I don't know Oprah, but I read everything that she does. I listen to her podcast. You get me? So that would be the first thing. So don't be like kind of overwhelmed by the fact that a mentor has to be somebody that you know in your immediate space. Another person that I really love and I consider her my mentor is Sarah Blakely, that she invented Spanx. And literally love the woman. Like her spirit, that's my spirit person, if that's a thing, right? And I just follow everything. That's a thing, right? But outside of that, I've literally just, I guess I've had to kind of come out of my shell as a fashion designer and also as just a creative or business woman that wanted more than what was offered. As you already said, illustration is not necessarily used in this way. I think in the region, really. So this was kind of new. So nobody was understanding what, like when I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to just illustrate on things. They're just like, I don't really get it. You get what I'm saying? So I had to kind of step out of my comfort zone a whole lot. So I actually used to just see business people and just, like, I think one time I saw Zachary Harding at a business event and I just went up to him and I was like, hey, I'd like you to mentor me. And he was like, sure. So, but what I found over, I've been doing this for, I think it's 11 years now. I think the best mentors are the people who just kind of show up along the journey and they just reach out to help you whenever, like, it's kind of like a big sister. They're not always in your life and involved in your life, but they just show up and say, hey, I see that like you're doing this or doing that. Like, that's cool. Like, let me help you, like I know so-and-so or I know whatever. And I think the best mentorships have been people who have seen me grow in the industry and they kind of just said, hey, what you're working on, like, do you need advice? Do you need help? I know so-and-so, maybe I can introduce you or that kind of thing. So, but you also have to be in the spaces, right? You can't stay at home. So if you're not at events, whether it's a business event or a creative event, you can't network to have that opportunity for somebody to come up to you and say, hey, I love your work. Like, I want to work with you. You need any advice or whatever like that.
Love that. Love that. So, I mean, I think this is a good opportunity for me to throw this to the audience and to those of you who are online. If you have questions about this, if there's anybody in this chat, in this conversation who you'd like to be your mentor, please send that question into the chat. Please send us your questions that you have about entrepreneurship or creative entrepreneurship so we can have a big open discussion here. But those points were very, very pointed. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I mean, it just zeroes in on the point that as a creative, you have to get out of your head and your own space and, you know, seek the help that you need. Network. If you don't have the business mind, network with somebody else who does.
Right.
So that you can get the work done, because no starving artists, that's not keeping anywhere here. Love that. Thank you so much. I mean, Sanjay, I'm gonna jump to you again because I know there may be a point where you need to hop off. Talk to us a little bit about when you just kind of started out on this creative entrepreneurship journey. What are some of the things that, you know, if it's not too far back in your mind, what are some of the things that you had to deal with that you could share with others who are here that could also help them on their journey as well?
I mean, if you want to speak to Harold, I don't mind, and I'll wait. I can wait a little bit if you want. I don't mind.
Well, if you need time to think about it and get it from far back, it's cool. You can jump right over to Harold. And Harold, I want you to.
Maybe it's too far back for Sanjay. That's the problem.
It's far back, but I still want it out of his head. So I'm giving him some time to shake it up a little bit. So in the meantime, while he thinks for that information, Harold, talk to us a little bit about, you know, how you heard the creatives on the call, and you yourself are a creative, so you understand some of the challenges that they experience. How does the JBDC fit into all of this? Like, how can I, as a creative right now, access assistance that can get me to where I need to go?
Yeah, man. And Tiva, before I answer that question directly, I want to comment on something that Sanjay said, and also something that I said as well. Sanjay spoke about the fact that it seems that many of the organizations, or he alluded to the fact that many of the organizations perhaps don't understand the creative. And I think that is important. I think that's a critical point to make, that the creative industries, many of the traditional organizations that support industries in Jamaica, generally speaking, or support entrepreneurs, they don't necessarily understand the creative. Now, that said, our creatives as well, we as creatives need to understand that there are two sides to that phrase, creative entrepreneur, creative and entrepreneur. It means as well that we have a responsibility to be entrepreneurs as well. No, it's not our favorite thing to do. We know that is not our favorite thing to do. We just want to create. Let's be clear, right? When I'm in a studio, I don't want to know about the business part, to be honest. I just want to create. That's the truth. However, it is important because, as I said, Tavia, starving artists now keep again. Done. We're done with that.
Not keeping anymore.
Not keeping again. So it means then that it's a responsibility of ours now to make sure that we get that entrepreneurship side. If it is not our favorite thing, find somebody who is close to us that is their thing, and partner with them and make them be your mentor, or make them just be your advisor, generally speaking. But the responsibility of understanding that we need entrepreneurs is ours. And that's important, and that's important for us to get. We can't just say, boy, I'm a creative, I'm a business with that. No, that is disaster. That is recipe for disaster, for sure. You have to understand and embrace this. But some of the immediate programs, to your question, Tavia, that we do, we help persons, like I said before, from concept right through to market. That means we help you think through your idea. In the ideation phase, when you're thinking through, if this product makes sense, if this particular service makes sense, we help you. Then we help you to structure it. We help you to develop a business model that makes sense. How are you going to make money off of this particular creative talent that you have? What exactly are you going to do? If you're a musician, is it that you're going to go into the studio? Is it that you're going to go into performing? Is it that you're going to go, how it is that you're really, what is your plan to make money from this particular thing? Because we're talking about a business. So we have to look at all aspects of your business, and we have to see you as just as the raw material for this business to happen. So we have business advisors on our staff. We have product development specialists, as Ayana was. She's one of our designers on staff. We have designers, fashion designers, space designers, product designers, and so on staff as well, who understand your product and understand your business. We have engineers on staff. We have research persons as well on staff to help you to navigate through this research thing and understand that you don't need 3 degrees in order to do research. Research is something that you do on a daily basis about your business, whether it's online or otherwise. And also we have Things Jamaican. We own Things Jamaican, the brand Things Jamaican, through which we market approximately 500 different gift and craft product designers and product producers in that space as well. We just recently, not recently, but recently we bolstered our e-commerce presence, obviously, and with the Amazon introduction in Jamaica, the Amazon Bus Jamaica, as you probably know, we are on Amazon as well. So that is another area. If it is that you're looking to market your product and you look into the e-commerce space thing, we can guide you and we can facilitate you through Things Jamaica. That's a helicopter ride because there's nothing between.
So tell me something, Harold. Walk me a little bit through the actual process. So I have an idea, right? So here's how my business is gonna go. I'm gonna collect cardboards and I'm going to use the cardboards to make pendants.
Yes.
Right? So I come to you and I say, hey, Harold, I'm Tavia. I have this business. It's gonna be called TSK Hardboard Benjamin. And I wanna make pendants with these cardboards, right? Where do I go from there?
Right. Well, you started at an advanced stage though, Tavia. You said that here I have a business that I want to go through, that I want to go into. Unfortunately, or fortunately, many of our creatives don't use that language. Come and say, boy, you know, I have a product and I want to see what we can do with this product in the marketplace. So the first thing that we would do is help you to assess 2 things. On the product development side, we would look at the product that you have, the design that you have, and see whether or not it is applicable and relevant and a winner in whatever markets that you're looking to go into. Yeah. If it's something to be worn, is the material such that it will harm the person, for instance? Is it on trend? Is it, those kind of questions. On the business side of the thing as well, we look at you and say, all right, how much of these can you produce in what period? What is your costing to produce this particular product? How much do you think you can sell it for? What kind of margins are we looking at? Can you maintain a business with a margin of $3, for instance, on your product? These kind of hard questions we're asking you.
What is on this line are stressed out right now, Harold.
No, well, you have to, but we're there for help. We're here to hold your hand, as I understand, and walk you through. Think questions like, how you go finance the raw material? Where you gonna get the raw material from, by the way? You say you check out some cardboard. Is there a reliable source of cardboard, for instance, that can provide you with jewelry if you get an order of 5 dozen, for instance, or whatever it is? Is the raw material source safe? Who providing your raw material? Is it something that you have to import? How you going to import it? Is there import duties that are involved? These are the questions that you have to ask if you're talking about sustainable, viable business. And when we handhold you through those kind of questions and that kind of scenario, help you think, stress you out a little bit, send you home, do some homework, come back to change your design and that type of thing. When you're ready, you say, all right, know where yourself. Here are Things Jamaican. If the product is appropriate for Things Jamaican, that can give you a kind of incubator kind of start. Or if it is that you want to do it online, first of all, let's think. If you want to do it online, let's talk about intellectual property. Is it protected? Is it that when you put it online, somebody else copy it and thief your design and go on with it? Let's help you to walk you through that process as well to make sure that it's safe. So if you're going to market online. So we help you by helping you to navigate what is required to get into business that is sustainable and viable, in a nutshell.
Thank you so much for helping with my cardboard pendant business. And I will say, I can imagine that having thought through all of those very important questions when it comes to business, it helps the creative process because now I can start creating and focusing on creating without stressing out my life about all of these other variables.
Absolutely.
Help me out here, Ayan. I'm trying to bust my thing.
So what I want to say, Mr. Davis, you did not talk about the graphic design component.
Yes,
I feel like
and the
that's
branding part, right?
Strongest aspects of JVDC. A lot of small business don't know that you can go to the incubator down there. They have resources, meaning like workspaces that you can actually, like if you're into sewing, they have sewing machines down there. You can rent the incubator today. But their graphic design support is amazing. They have a team, they have photos, they have printers, they can print crack and peel, everything. So like, and it's subsidized by the government. So it's not as expensive as when you go to the other print places, and it's good quality, and the designers there are amazing. So
you see where we're proud of her?
I'm sending her back to you, Harold, because
no, I can't afford her at this point.
It's a really good resource center for, I mean, anything, whether it's the business side, whether it's the technical support and stuff like that. And I mean, I was a part of their team, and I love that's like, you know, going back home whenever they ask me to help with stuff. So yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Ayana. And even to my question of whether, do you think, you know, creative entrepreneurs not focusing enough on the business side of what they need to do, does that affect the creativity, and does it affect you being able to focus on that? Have you experienced that when you started out or at any point in time?
Definitely. I mean, first of all, if you don't have any money in the bank, you can't, and you're like, I live on my own. So if there's no food on the table, I'm miserable. I can't function. I can't create anything if I'm hungry, right? So if you don't have that, you have to have a little bit of, even in the beginning stages, like you can't spend all the money on the fabric and the zipper and the trim and the this and the that, because you need to be able to, whether it's transportation, whether it's, you know, buy a meal, because even if you're going to sew all night into the morning, you know, who's going to pay JPS at the end of the month? Because you know JPS will cut your light off, right? So you always have to have some amount of business savvy. And I mean, unless your parents are just very wealthy, or you just have a very wealthy benefactor, which most people don't, I definitely don't, who just, you know, give you money, then you don't have to worry. But you need to think about the dollars and cents of it and say it to yourself, well, is it really important for me to buy 10 extra buttons for this outfit that it doesn't really need the 10 buttons, but I want it? And then also think about the consumer, like, can they afford it, that garment, when you put the 10 extra buttons on it? Probably not, you know? So if you're going to sell it for $2,000, they're clearly, we're not putting the fanciest buttons on there. We're going to put like a zippo. And you get what I'm saying? Like, so you have to know the costing behind stuff and have that. It goes hand in hand. If you want to be a creative entrepreneur, if you just want to be an artist and you just live in your life and boho and no cares and I mean, nothing is wrong with that, right? But if you want your business to grow, you want your brand to grow, you want it to be bigger than just yourself. I mean, right now I am a one-woman band. I outsource stuff. I have interns, but I don't have like, you know, it's not a fashion house like in Devil Wears Prada or whatever that I have like a whole team that's here helping me. No, I outsource a lot of things, and I have, you know, help when I need in the busy season. But, you know, imagine if I had said, oh, I'm going to have 5 people because I need, you know, and then during COVID, I have to still pay these 5 people. Right. That don't make no sense, financial sense, you know? So these are all things that you have to think about. And it's just important for you to, if you want to be a creative entrepreneur, for you to actually take the time out to learn these things. And you can learn these things through JBDC, online. Trust me. I mean, I think everybody on this this Zoom can like actually remember the time where we did not have internet and we had to use the library, or we had to use a CD. Yeah. Right. So, I mean, the world is at our fingertips. Literally, just like how you're Googling whatever celebrity, you can Google how to, you know, what a profit and loss sheet is, etc., etc. Like, everything is not going to get handed to you. You're going to have to reach out and like use the resources that you have and be resourceful. And as Jamaicans, we are resourceful. So just, have the discipline to do that.
So just balance it.
Mhm.
That's what we're hearing through this conversation. Balance that creativity with the need for business. And if you don't have it, find somebody who does.
Mhm.
Find people to help you. Sanjay, I know all of that. Those gems are far back, but I want you to talk to me a little bit about, you said you work off common sense, right? But were there any mentors or were there anything specific that helped you when it came to ensuring that there was a balance of business and creativity?
I mean, you never have to change the question for me, isn't it?
I'm coming to it, but if you're talking about this, I want to hear what you have to say about that.
I mean, in terms of the mentors now, yeah, I definitely had mentors along the way. I mean, my mentors weren't always necessarily directly linked to my businesses, though. A lot of my mentors were more personal. So, like, I remember, like Mikey Bennett, for example, Kimala Bennett's father. Everybody in the music business is uncle. Everybody call him Uncle Mikey. I mean, he was one of my first mentors, musically, and just even as a human being. And then from there, got involved in television. And then Mark Kenny who was my executive producer over Magnum Kings and Queens and Rain F. Contender, and even he was the producer once for Rising Stars, as well as even other, other peers who even acted as mentors at time too. Sharon Shota and a bunch of other people as well too. But I mean, kind of like what Ayana said, I feel like with these things, it's like that old saying where when a student is ready, the master will appear. It's one of those things where I feel like in life, like whatever bridge I'm at and want to cross, I always find the person to help me get across it. You know what I mean? And so it just depends on where I'm at in my evolution or you know what I mean, or stage. And then, that energy just attracts, that teacher to you or that mentor to you. So there've been many mentors along the way. But I mean, in terms of the business side of things, like I said, it's not like I ever found, actually, it's funny enough. Yeah, I've actually been looking for like a mentor in the hospitality stuff. Like I'd love to connect with someone who's because I just started a second one. And so there's a lot of like logistical things that I have questions about that I'd love to be able to bounce them off of somebody who's kind of overseen more than one location and dealt with the connectivity of more than one location and things like this. I'd love to find somebody I haven't been able to do that yet, but I mean, that's also a relatively new thing as well too. I just started the second one, so hopefully that master will appear soon.
I mean, the universe is hearing you, and if there's anybody on this chat who knows anybody who can be Sanjay, I welcome you to him, please.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, a lot of my and then yeah, a lot of my mentors have been probably personal, more or maybe a bit mixed of both, actually. You know what I mean? And like I also said, sometimes I mean, my first mentor was Ultimate Warrior. He was a wrestler. Like, you know what I mean? They don't have to be people you personally knew. He was just an inspiring thing. I get inspiration from different types of people, and without, you can draw upon that inspiration, and you can have your imaginary mentors as well too.
Love that. And of course, you can feel free to share any of those memories you have of when you just started, if you've been able to find them.
Oh no, I just wanted to hear what Harold had to say before I left. You know what I mean?
That works too.
His name looks very important. I figured he definitely had some important things to say. So
I think we should ask Harold to talk to us about his own creative journey, because I mean, he is a creative, studio album and all of those things. Sanjay, I think you guys probably should connect after this. So Harold.
Yeah,
for sure.
I was just
sorry, go ahead, Sanjay. You're saying something, Sanjay?
No, I was just saying, yeah, for sure. I'd love to, because to be honest with you, I don't even know what the JBDC stands for.
Jamaica Business Development Corporation.
Okay, cool.
Zin.
Yeah, no, I'd love to get more information about art. Like I said, one of my weaknesses is just like I don't have a very strong business sense. Like even I now see how I need to study more about finance. Like I just bought a book about finance because I realized how little knowledge I have in this area and things like this. So, you know what I mean? Like I'd love to learn or get sharper in that aspect of business. Creativity has always been my strength. Like I said, I'm a TV producer, so I'm pretty detailed and organized. That's also another strength. That's been probably two of my biggest strengths in business, but I definitely don't have a strong business acumen. So, but I'd definitely love to polish and improve upon that stuff. I mean, what was the question again? How I got started in creativity?
Yeah, and just kind of, what are some of the challenges that you also experienced that, other persons could benefit from in terms of how you overcame those?
Yes, I mean, my creative journey got started very young. I started, it was literally just watching music videos. I think I was in New York at the time, and I was watching music videos, and I saw a music video come on, and I remember telling my cousin, I was like, I can do that. And I just started writing songs that day, and I just never stopped. So that was the start of my creative journey. And I always knew that I wanted to be an artist or a musician, so that I always knew that. And then I did the starving artist thing for maybe way too long, where I was just going to studios, just kind of there the whole day. Did that for a long time. I'm probably still doing the starving artist thing. I mean, I've been much more successful in TV and even the guest host things than I've been musically. I mean, but I've had a few big songs here and there, but definitely not. I've been more successful in my other areas of creative business than music. So yeah, that's definitely been one of my challenges. It's just, music is a very strange thing. There's no meritocracy in music necessarily. You know what I mean? Like, you have a lot of really good artists who never really, get that big break. And there's a lot of things. There's a lot of reasons why, sometimes I see maybe the not so talented artist, but who has a strong team and a strong business mentality, and you see them being successful, and then you see the super talented ones who just expect everything to happen for them, and then nothing happens. It doesn't happen the way they expect. So as an artist, there's been many challenges, and that's kind of how I got started. I literally, that was the start of everything for me. I was at the studios all day. That's how I got started on Rising Stars. Rising Stars was actually my very first television production gig. And that actually came out of the studios. I was at the studio. I did a song with this guy named Suede, who had this song, "They Can't See We're Just Friends," with Tony Rebel. And
Sanjay, why you stop? Joke. Keep
Yeah, and so we did this song together, and then he literally called me up like maybe a couple of days later, and he's like, "Yo, there's this new TV production that they're starting, and they want some people to be production assistants." And I don't remember what he said the pay was, but at the time I was like, "What? Hell yeah, ready!" So and then Ricky Chin Productions was doing the productions for that, and that was the start of my television career. I was a production assistant for them, and then they liked me, having me around. They saw that I worked well. They saw that I was smart, had a good attitude. So they asked me to stay on for the lives. And then from there, the producer, Mark Kane at the time, asked me to be the floor manager. He trained me to be the floor manager, really because he just didn't want to tell people to clap. So I was telling people I'm the floor manager, when really I was just there telling people to clap. It took me years before I realized what a floor manager really does. So then from there, Mark Kenny had this bright idea that dance hall artists weren't getting their fair share at Digital Rising Stars, so he wanted to start his own idea. I mean, we all thought he was a little bit crazy, but he pulled it off, and I became one of the producers along with Natalie Parbusing. We became the producers for that show, and then from there he was able to get Contender off the ground. We did Contender. We did a couple more shows here and there, Deal or No Deal, Fame and Fortune. And so a lot of it all stemmed from the pursuit of my music career, and then other things just kind of, there's a little bit more of a meritocracy in some of the other businesses and other areas. So I was able to kind of, when people saw the talent and saw the drive and stuff, I was able to kind of advance a little bit quicker in some of the other areas. And then the guest hosting, it was just I had a big song at the time, international, Belle, this dance song we did called Belle, and that actually did well in Europe. And then me and a friend at the time started a guest house, and we decided to call it Belle. And then first we were thinking, there were two guest houses around already. There was Reggae Hostel, that's now closed, and there was another hostel called Dancehall Hostel. And then we were just thinking, we need to make ours a little bit different. Who are we going to market to? What's going to make our space attractive? And then we just thought that, I had this popular dancing song, and I was kind of entrenched in the dancing world, and my partner at the time, she was a dancer. And so we just decided to make that our niche. And then that's how that started. So everything, all of my creative endeavors really stemmed from music, really.
Wow. So if Follow Your Dream was a person.
Right. But also I think what was also important about his story was just like, he just organically like said, well, you know, like an opportunity came up and it wasn't exactly what he wanted, but he was like, yo, cool. And he did the best job that he did, and he had the discipline to follow through, and people saw that in him. So it's always like really important. Whenever I teach, I always kind of say to the kids or whoever I'm teaching, that, you know, it's also about having the grit and like staying true to who you are. Clearly don't stop doing the music, but if there's a good opportunity, you need to seize it and it's network, and you don't know what will come. So I love that.
Definitely. And, you know, when I heard him talking, you know, I'm thinking that going back to what you spoke about also, Sanjay, about mentors just being for you as a human and a person, just building yourself. Those opportunities that you also mentioned were about that too. So, you know, even creatives, it's not just about me going and creating something and following my passion alone, but it's about how can I be a part of situations that will allow me to build as a person, build my own soft skills as well.
That's what I wanted to pick up on in terms of what Sanjay was saying. It's very important as creatives to surround yourself with the right people. It's very important, yeah? Surround yourself with persons who are positive, surround yourself with persons who are uplifting, persons who are going somewhere. It's very important. I smiled when Sanjay was talking about Mikey Bennett, because Mikey Bennett, I'm a bona fide. And not only am I bona fide, but also my mentor of sorts, because Mikey, I don't know there's nothing in music without that. Mikey, what you talk about so and so and so and so? Mikey said, oh, no, man, that don't make no sense for her. And so you know Mikey candid already, right? Or say, yeah, man, go with it. But surround yourself with persons who are the right persons who are in your corner, persons who are honest. And they can tell you, say, listen, man, Sanjay, this don't make sense now. Or yeah, go with this. Or go with this in this particular way because it suits your brand better, type of thing. So I think that's also a very important, lesson that our creatives, and that has worked for me in terms of my own musical journey. I started from, I'm one of those who your parents send you go to music class from your 6-year-old. You know what I mean? Simply because your bigger brother and sister went to music just the same. You know what I mean? And you really wanted something else. But anyhow, the good thing is that eventually that took me to School of Music. And that took me to the North Coast to do a number, to be on that circuit for quite a while. And also having the opportunity to go down the islands as well and Florida back in the day, and on the journey, it's important. I mean, I don't think I can say that I was a starving artist per se, but can I say that I had the best business sense in where music is concerned? It's ironic because I did engineering as well, but where your music and your creative side is concerned, you tend to separate the brains, don't it? So yes, I mean, I wasn't starving, but I mean, you never reaped oodles of success as you could have if you had applied some of the new business principles that we're talking about here to it. But that word about surrounding yourself with persons on the same journey with you mentally and spiritually as well is very, very important, as creatives.
Wow, I love this TED Talk. Thanks for kicking it off for us, Sanjay, and just sharing your experiences, because I mean, it's so important. As creatives, we just think about, okay, I just want to make this thing. But we don't think about ensuring that the people around us are also very important to build ourselves personally. And even as you mentioned, too, spiritually, for those of us who also want that kind of development as well. So that's very, very crucial. I mean, this has been such a fruitful conversation where we're just being so candid about where we started, challenges, problems, but also how we can overcome a lot of them. And I'd love for us to, talk a little bit about just looking at the space. We looked at various challenges that we experience within the Jamaican space as creative entrepreneurs. what are some of the things you would say would be crucial to start shifting, how we operate in that space as creatives? Like, what are some of the changes that we would need to make? Is there anything you can think of in your head that is okay, practically, this is what we can start doing to be able to have creative entrepreneurs succeed in this space? I think I want to start off with Harold, because I think you probably have some right up your sleeve there.
Yeah. Two things, and I mentioned one earlier, and that is that the ecosystem, or the providers of services and of support in the space, whether government or private sector or otherwise, I think some needs to be done in terms of helping the ecosystem understand the creative entrepreneur a little bit, including our financial institutions. Yes, we spoke for the last hour about us as creatives making sure that we have the right business chops to make sure that we can approach a financial institution if we need to approach a financial institution. But the other side is also true, that the financial institution, the products that they have sometimes aren't always right for creative industries. From the standpoint that creative industries have different equity structure, creative industry have different seasonalities for their products, things of that nature. You have different, the collateral structure is different. The intangible, when persons are asking for security for loans, for instance, we don't have no equipment and house and land necessarily, but what we have is intangible assets. The brand that we have, the catalog of songs that we have and things of that nature. The business of converting that into something tangible that the financial institutions and others can understand is something that really needs to happen in the space. And I know that JIPO, Jamaica Intellectual Property Office, and ourselves, JBDC, are going to embark on a journey to help sensitize our financial institutions how we do that, and help our creatives as well understand how it is that you can convert that, what you call intangible assets, which is what we market, that's what our product is, our brand, our talent, our catalog of songs, our catalog of writings, or our fashion line and so on, into something that is tangible and something that is bankable. That is very important as well, So let me stop there and allow Ayana and Sanjay to jump in. But there are other things as well that I could share when we jump in, when you guys jump in.
Just to comment a little bit on what you talked about, I just want to say we love that. I see Ayana shaking her head and saying yes. And I know Sanjay definitely agrees with that. And that initiative that you mentioned, I'm sure there may be persons here on the line who would want to be a part of that, or who would want to lend support to it. So I'd love, before we even move on, to just for you to share with our friends here how they can be able to, assist or be a part of an initiative like that when it does become live.
Yeah. So okay, cool, no problem. JIPO, with the help of an external funding agency, it's looking to improve the knowledge, the know-how of our financial institutions and our ecosystems, generally speaking, on how it is that you use intangible assets as collateral. The law already allows it, but of course, most of our financial institutions and the rest of the ecosystem don't really understand how it is that you value it. You know what I mean? So that's very important. But we're working with JIPO in terms of the sensitization of both sides, both the creative and also the institutions themselves. So link up with us, because we're going to need some data. We're going to need some information. We're going to need to help the institutions understand, when we say intangible assets, what are the possibilities? What are they? What we are talking about, really and truly. You know what I mean? Is it your value of your copyright? Is it the fact that you have a trademark? Is it the fact that you have an industrial design? Is it in fact that you just have, like I said, a catalog of songs? What are some of the things that we need then to collateral? That word, that means that making to tangible collateral. So that is important as well. But on that note, Tavia, I want to talk a little bit, just for 1 minute, about the importance of data and information, generally speaking, from our creatives. So many times we as creatives are our own worst enemy as it relates to developing policy that is relevant and for us to grow, you know? Why? Because we are hesitant and sometimes outright reluctant to provide any kind of information about the business itself that we are in. You know what I mean? We say, boy, we don't want Babylon to know the information and that type of thing. But the only way that adequate policies and so on can be created and developed to help the creative sector is if some data is provided that the government can say, oh, if we invest this amount of money in this, because this is the value that it can grow from to, you know what I mean, in real terms, rather than treating the sector as if, you know, it's not a real industry type of thing. So we have a responsibility as well. Recently, as you know, and Kingston Creative knows, that we did a mapping of the creative and cultural industries, you know, and that mapping is not only for the policymaker, for them to understand what is in the creative, because that mapping was done from surveys, from interviews with 500 plus creatives. So we creatives own the information in that map. And we need to know what it says. We need to know that it says what kind of value potential the creative industries bring to the table. So that when we go and have our conversations in our associations, in our unions and things like that, we're going there with credible, concrete, solid information. So I know things of that nature. Things of this nature is not necessarily the sexy stuff that we creatives like to talk about, but it's the important stuff that we need. So that when down the road, 5 years' time, we're not having this conversation about adequate support and adequate policy support and measurable impact of the creative industries as well. We know in our heart, as Ayana said when she opened, that the creative industry is the most powerful industry in this country. It changed the landscape of, changed how the world sees Jamaica. That's the truth. But measurable in terms of how much, we start stutter. In terms of even how much persons are employed in the industry, we start stutter. You know what I mean? So it's important for us to own initiatives like these. Everybody on this call needs to get a copy of a creative industry mapping product, so that I read it. It's easy reading for make you understand exactly what is in the industry, so that when we go to the table as equals, we can argue and we can negotiate in a way that will bring redound to benefit to us at the end of the day still. So, all right, we'll come out for the platform now.
The Zoom say amen. We love that. We love that. Thank you so much, Harold. And I before I forget, and before yourself and Sanjay forgets, I am connecting both of you. So expect an email with both of your contacts so that you can, you know, link up and have conversation, and maybe that way the universe will connect your mentor, Sanjay, and speak out there for you.
Sanjay, I don't know what you're trying to say before we forget to them. I don't know, like so we will forget on them. You know, something I try to tell you, my girl.
Just in case, covering all bases,
My memory at my age.
I try to tell me, you know, but now listen, you know.
Listen. So Ayana, talk to me a little bit about, did you have any thoughts to add to some of the things Harold shared? I mean, those were a lot of points too.
Yeah. He kind of talked about everything, but I kind of actually wrote some notes because I didn't want to forget.
No. You are me, I am you.
Yeah, I have to write it down. But basically, there were, other than JBDC, I feel like JIPO, he mentioned JIPO is very important as a creative to be very familiar with what services they offer, what they do, how they can help you protect your work, things like poor man's copyright, etc. Like just going, well, I don't know if they're open to the public now just because of COVID, but you can call them, ask questions, ask all the stupid questions, because I mean, it's better to ask and get okay, that's a silly question, than not ask at all and it actually be something sensible. Of course, the Branson Center, there are lots of different incubators. I mean, Kingston Creative, Scotiabank has their Vision Achiever program. I mean, there are lots of different things. Look around, pay attention. Yeah, Edna Manley, UTech, they all have different things that can help you enhance your skill set. So look for the opportunities, right, guys? Mr. Davis said tracking your data. let me tell you, if you're starting out from now, or if you weren't doing it before, try to keep on top of your accounting. Like, even just so you know how much money you've invested in things, how much money you're making, because I didn't do that for a very long time. I was very, very bad with keeping books and whatever. And like, my friends would randomly be like, but you spend X amount of dollars on this, like, that's a good thing. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. So, you know, if you're not yet at the business stage where you feel like you have everything together, just document as much things as possible. As Mr. Davis said, data is key. Even if you don't use it right now, you might need it in the future. You might need it when you apply for the grant or the loan or whatever it is. So you need to document your stuff. Protecting your work, I spoke about that. JIPO, the people are very helpful there. Just the importance of being prepared for any opportunity that may come up. You know, if you're always keeping your books in check when a grant comes about, you can print your profit and loss, and you don't have to stress about meeting a deadline and making up numbers, because you've been keeping yourself prepared. I think there's this saying that luck is preparation meeting opportunity. So it's not really just like, oh, an opportunity, you're just so lucky. No, I was prepared and the opportunity presented itself. Because if the opportunity was there and I wasn't ready, nothing would have
been an opportunity.
Exactly. And assets. In terms of, I know in terms of financial things, a lot of us as creatives, and maybe this is a part of a bigger discussion, we think about an asset as like a house or like a car or something big like that. Creative industries or equipment costs so much money. Listen, if you save up and buy your camera, that is an asset. You get me? You save up and buy your sewing machine, girl, that is an asset, right? And you can use that as leverage for different things. Now, maybe under the circumstances, you might have to negotiate with the person, but don't be afraid to ask questions. Be confident, come with all the information, because you never know. Somebody might say, whoa, like, I see what you're doing. I know you're trying a thing. All right, we can use your sewing machine, like, let's get it valued and whatever. And if anything, God forbid you don't pay, we're going to claim your sewing machine or something like that. Also, different things. So everything doesn't have to be, of course we want to make money, right? But you can also barter. You can use your skills. You can say, hey, like, you are good at marketing. I'm not good at marketing, but maybe I
get something from you.
Right. I get the promo girl clothes for like a couple of months or whatever, put a limit at it, a cost value. And if it's 50 grand worth of promo girl clothes and you do 50 grand worth of social media or whatever it is for me, and that's the exchange. So it doesn't always have to be cash in hand or a cash exchange. And lastly, honestly, people in business, we don't understand them and they don't understand us. Finance, they don't understand us, we don't understand them. So if you're not like at the table or trying to have conversations with them, they're not going to know what we need. So you have to be at the table. Even if them don't invite you to the table, Jamaicans are enough. Come on, just be like, hey,
hello,
or hello. Yes, I'm an artist. This is what it's about. You get me? Jamaicans are not short of confidence. They're not short of being enough. And they're not short of like just believing in themselves. So like, even though it's an uncomfortable situation, like step outside of your comfort zone. And, like if you don't talk to them, they won't know that, hey, I don't have an asset like a house, but I have a sewing machine, and my sewing machine costs $200,000, or my camera costs, or even my computer or my iPad. You understand? And these things are regular things for creatives, but business people, they're not thinking of that as like an asset. But if you explain to them like, yo, this software on here is X dollars, this, you can't buy this in Jamaica, you have to
understand it and see it from your perspective.
Right. And then they can say, wow, like maybe we should come up with some kind of short loan that maybe it's not more than $100,000. And maybe, creatives can use it for, let's say, for example, I have a project coming up. The person approved it and I just need a little bit more cash up front to be able to, whether it's buy equipment or, raw materials. the check not going clear for another 3-5 days or whatever it is, and I need the money now to start doing stuff. Like maybe how can I get that money? The financial institution is not going to know that these are the things that the limits that we're working within if we're not actually
speaking up.
Speaking up and saying, hey, this is the problem. And when I say speaking up, I don't necessarily mean talking to your friend that's a teller. No offense. They're just not at the level that you need to be like networking. They can't make change. You understand? Like, you can say it to them and they might say it in a meeting, but you need to be talking to people, networking with people who are like at the change maker stage. And also, I mean, talking to people like at JVDC, they already have that network that they can tap into. So they're able to say, okay, well, X amount of creatives said they need loans for up to $100,000. And, it needs to be within 6 months turnaround, whatever it is, et cetera, et cetera. And then they can go to like a Scotiabank or NCB or wherever and say, hey, could you offer creatives this type of loan? We'll facilitate it or whatever. And then we're all able to, get that little extra money to buy the camera or the lens or the whatever. And then we know that we have a big job next month, we can pay it back.
Love that. We love your notes. I feel like I'm going to ask you to, send it over because yes, we love it. Thank you so much for sharing with us. And I mean, I think all the creatives on this line, we've gotten so much information that we can definitely use. And I want to ask you, Sanjay, before you have to go, to just share any closing words with us that you have for persons who are starting out in this creative entrepreneurship journey or who are on it and just need a little oomph to bring them further to success.
I guess I would say, like, from my perspective, like I think I may have mentioned it earlier, one of the, like, just keep being a student, like keep learning, like, keep learning. One of the things that's been one of the most helpful things for me in my course is having a plan, but always leaving room for the plans to take on a life of their own. So like I've always had an idea where I wanted to go, but then like by leaving room for the magic to happen, like the magic has always led me in a very different place from where I intended to be, and usually it's been better. You know what I mean? Like, so sometimes I've learned to kind of just, like have that vision, but also leave enough freedom and flexibility to let the vision also take on a life of its own.
Love that.
And so yeah, I mean, I would just say, like, have that plan, make sure, be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself with what your strengths are, with what your weaknesses are. Learn to be disciplined with it. I also feel like one of the things that's made me different from a lot of the people in my creative fields is the fact that I'm not only creative, but I'm also disciplined. And I'm able to apply that discipline. Whereas a lot of people are just creative. And they have trouble with the other aspects, the disciplinary aspects, and as Aina mentioned, like when it comes to business, there's a lot of areas in which that discipline comes in. You know what I mean? Especially when it comes to and I think Harold also mentioned this as well too. So yeah, you know what I mean? I would just say that's pretty much it. You know what I mean? From my personal experiences, those are some things that's been very beneficial to me along my journey, and then also just attitude, just your personality. You know what I mean? I tell people that I never studied television productions. You know what I mean? I was never qualified a day in my life, and I worked on some of the most historic shows in Jamaican television. Some shows that have really changed the landscape of Jamaican TV: Rising Stars, Magnum Kings and Queens of Dancehall, Rain If You Contender. Like, those are 3 history book shows in Jamaican television, and I was never qualified a day in my life. People literally just enjoyed having me around, and they saw my potential and trained and coached me to be those roles, to play those roles. So me personally, I've definitely seen how much of a benefit just having the right attitude, having the right personality, humility, these types of things can be. It can be of even more benefit than your skill set sometimes. When people like having you around, they'll keep you around. You know what I mean? And especially if you do have that drive, and if you do have the talent, and if you do have the ability, you can really make use of it in a really fruitful and productive way.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. I also want to send blessings to your dad as well. Thank you for joining us in spite of. We really, really appreciate it. And I think I am going to officially dub this conversation the Creative Entrepreneurship TED Talk. I just think that it's just appropriate. Do I have a yes?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to run now. I don't know how much longer you have. But yeah, I just thank everybody thanks for having me. Thanks to Ayana, thanks for Harold. I learned a lot. I enjoyed listening to both of you. I think you should connect all of us, not just me and Harold. I also think Ayana should look into adding, model to her thing as well, to her, like that smile.
I used to model. Thank you.
Listen, you have it up. Listen, I'm gonna just connect everybody. The Creative Entrepreneurship TED Talk Squad. Look up that
yeah, but yeah, it was fun. I really enjoyed it. I learned from everybody on the panel. It was cool. Thanks for the experience, and I'll link up with you guys later. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Sanjay.
Right,
have a great one.
Yeah, man. Big up.
All right. Wow, what a wonderful conversation we've been having this evening. I mean, I really, really appreciate the conversation we've had. Thank you guys for sharing your experience with us. I've benefited from just being able to moderate this conversation, and I'm sure persons on here, like, they're so soaked in, like they don't even know what to ask. Them just like zoomed into everything that we're talking about, and I'm sure they're over there making notes like Ayana. So I love that for all of us, and I really appreciate you guys sharing it with us. So thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you guys have a splendid rest of evening. At this time, I think we're gonna jump to Karen to just have a quick chat with her as well.
Okay.
All right, bye.
Bye. Thanks for having us.
No problem.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Hey, Karen, welcome to our chat. Thank you for joining us. I know you're gonna give us a quick update into, this is a Kingston Creative Check-in. You're gonna give us some information of IP and business registration drive and accelerator. Talk to us a little bit about what that really is.
Sure, no problem. So good evening, everyone. Pleasure to be here, part of this very interesting event. So I am just going to give you a little bit of a rundown as far as what the overall project CreaTech is about, and the business and IP registration drive, and the accelerator program, which we will have running in August. So CreaTech is a series of projects which is really aimed at, we as Jamaicans, we feel that we have the best of everything. We have the best culture, we have the best music, we have the best food and everything. And the question is, why is it that we have not been able to capitalize on that as much as we should have? Why is it that, yes, we have great musicians, but it's not translating to the economic growth that we would like? Or we still have the high levels of crime, or, all these different things that you would expect to see, you would expect to see the benefits from the kind of cultural assets that we have. And so CreaTech is a set of projects that is really designed to try and fix the underlying issues as to why it is that even though we have great creatives, we are not really seeing as much of the benefits as we really ought to. We see benefits, but not as much as we would expect. And so we find that we have problems with creatives not having adequate access to capital and financing. So Ayana was talking about, and Harold, they were talking about the fact that financial institutions don't always know how to value the assets that creatives have, or the intellectual property that creatives have. So we have that as an issue. We also find that sometimes our creatives don't have adequate business and tech skills in order to propel them to the next level. So what we're doing, and there's also this issue in terms of informality. So, for example, we would have had, one of the things that came out of COVID was the government launched a program in order for persons to be able to get some benefits. But you found that a lot of persons weren't able to actually reap those benefits because they didn't have the things that the government was requiring in order to be able to claim that. They weren't registered, they didn't have a TRN, all these, they didn't have IDs, they didn't have a formal bank account. So all these different things can actually act as impediments to the growth of creatives. So the program is really designed to fix some of, or as best as possible to, improve the situation as far as some of these conditions are concerned. So business and IP registration drive. So this is looking at the last issue that I mentioned, which is the lack of formalization. So if you're operating as a creative, now is your opportunity to register yourself, register your business, register as a company. You can register as a sole trader. And we are providing funding for you to be able to do that up to $25,000. So this program is going to get going in August. We also have support for persons who want to register their intellectual property. So if it is that you have a logo, a trademark, and you want to register it with JIPO, then you have the opportunity under this program to get some funding in order to do that. Or if you have poetry that you need to have registered, works of literature, works of art, that sort of a thing, then this can also be done under the program. And as I said, we provide funding for that. So this will get going August 9. Okay, and in order to actually apply, register, you go to the Kingston Creative website and the link is there. All right, so that's business and IP registration drive. In terms of the accelerator program, so I spoke about the fact that we have issues in terms of lack of tech skills, lack of business skills, and the accelerator program is looking at businesses that have been operating for a little while. So this is not necessarily a brand new startup, because we have programs for those individuals. But if you are a creative and you've been operating for a little while, and you now want that extra push to go to the next level, you want that extra training, you want to know what is it that you need to be doing in terms of how it is that you should be accounting for, your income, your expenditure, what kind of marketing tools you can use, how to build a community around your brand, around your creativity, then this is the program that would be useful for you. And again, this one gets going in the middle of August. So the application forms will be circulated and persons will be able to sign up for that.
Lovely. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Karen, are there any limitations in terms of the types of businesses that can be a part of either of these initiatives? Or are there conditions that persons need to consider?
Okay, thank you. So we're looking for persons who are operating across the creative industries, the creative and cultural industries. And it runs the gamut. So you could be in advertising, you could be in media, you could be a visual artist, you could be a dancer, performer. So once you are classified as being in the cultural and creative industries, then this is for you. As I mentioned with the accelerator, we're not looking for brand new firms. We are looking for firms that or creatives that have been in business or been selling their work for a little while. And we're looking to see, with the accelerator program, we're looking to see that you will be able to make the commitment to actually move full-time into this within the next 6 months, for example. So that we're looking for people who are serious about growing their businesses to the next level. Because one of the things I should mention about the accelerator program is that there is an international focus. So it's not just about growth. We're trying to get persons to grow on a global level. So not just selling within Jamaica, but outside of Jamaica, across the Caribbean and the world. And your business will need to be registered. So here's the thing. You start with the business and IP registration, and then that makes it easy for you to access all the different programs that we have. And I'm just talking about 2 now, but there are many that will be coming up. We have the incubator program. We have the hackathons that will be coming up. So yeah, so for the accelerator, you need to be a registered business. And for the business and IP registration, you just need to be a creative with a business that you're running that you know want to get formalized.
Lovely. So they both work hand in hand. It feels
Absolutely.
like it's a one-stop shop for our creative right now.
Absolutely, would agree.
Thank you so much, Karen. So just to remind the friends, they can get information on both of these that you mentioned on the website. Could you remind us of the address again?
So it's kingstoncreative.org. So once you hit kingstoncreative.org, the pop-up should come for the business and IP registration. In terms of the accelerator program, the promotional material is not yet out. You can look for that in early August. So I would tell people to keep paying attention to our social media feeds, and you can check the website.
Lovely. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Karen. I'm sure that people are so excited about being able to actually
I hope.
the things we talked about earlier, don't? Lovely. Thank you so much, Karen, for sharing that with us. And there you have it, guys. You can visit the website kingstoncreative.org for more information on these initiatives that Karen just talked about. Thanks a lot for joining us.
No problem.
And we also have another creative online with us. We're excited to talk to him as well, and that's Garfield. I'd love for you to join me here. Hi, Garfield. I think you're muted right now, so I'll allow tech support to unmute you for a second. There we go. Welcome to the Meetup. I can hear you now. I can hear you now, Garfield. Go ahead.
She's talking, but I'm not hearing.
Oh, you're not hearing me?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
I am good. Thanks for joining us.
I'm not hearing you.
I think he's having a little bit of technical challenges there. We'll give him a moment.
Hello?
Can you hear me now?
Okay, hi. How are you? How are you doing?
Can you hear me now?
I can't hear you so well.
Okay, can you hear me now?
No, I can't. I see.
Okay, I see he's been, seems like my sound is coming delayed on his end. All right, we'll give him a moment to sort out his audio for a little bit. In the meantime, I'd love to remind you, friends online, whether you're on YouTube or within the Zoom chat here. So if you have questions, please to feed your questions to us. We definitely can, route them to our panelists as well, see if we can get some information for you. And remember, a lot of the information they shared with us, very important to network, to seek all the information that you need to be able to build your business. And here, Karen just shared with us some very important information. So remember to check out the website. That's kingstoncreative.org, or to follow their social media pages to keep up with them at Kingston Creative JM on Instagram and Facebook. Garfield, can you still, is my audio coming to you delayed still? Could we have tech support unmute him to see if he is hearing me?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. No, I'm still not hearing you.
So we wanted. Oh, you're not hearing me. We wanted to talk to Garfield a little bit about his journey. But it seems we're having a little bit of technical issues here. Can you hear us now?
So I go back to mute. Just clear up the audio here. I still not to hear you.
Can you hear me now?
It's working on it right now.
Seems you're not able. Seems Garfield, you're not hearing us here. All right, so we'll give him a little moment to see if we can sort this out in a few minutes. I also encourage you guys in the chat to network as well, to meet each other, to see who is here, just as we talked about in our chat earlier, as it's very, very important for us as creatives to connect with each other so that we can, you know, share our thoughts or energies or ideas as well. You know, I may be business savvy while another person is creative, and those collaborations can be very helpful on our creative entrepreneurship journey. Are you still with us, Garfield? Can you hear us now?
Yeah,
All right, while he sorts that out, Karen, would you like to join us for a few minutes just to talk a little bit about any other programs that Kingston Creative has while Garfield sorts out his technical issues? Welcome back to our chat. Thanks for joining us again.
No problem. I actually just wanted to make one clarification on something that I mentioned before, which is around the business and IP registration drive. Because after speaking with you so confidently about the website, I just went back to check to make sure. And I don't want anybody to be confused by anything that they see, because the dates are actually not exactly correct. So what is going to happen is that we're going to relaunch a program in August. So persons can check back in August on the website, kingstoncreative.org, and they should be able to see. So around the time of August 9 is when we expect that persons will be able to sign up and let us know how it is that they're going to be planning to formalize their business. So that was just one important thing I wanted to say. And there's one last thing. Sorry to be taking up all your time. I don't know if Garfield is ready.
Go ahead.
Okay. So
want to hear.
Right. So the other thing I want to talk about, another exciting offering that's coming under the Createch program has to do with the incubator. So we know Kingston Creative is an incubator. I don't know if everybody has visited the Kingston Creative Hub, but this is a place where creatives are welcome in order to have office space and to grow the entrepreneurial aspects of their business. So what will be happening is that starting soon, again in August, lots going on in August, it's exciting, that we're going to be having a series of events at the hub, which is designed to provide the training and the mentorship that I had spoken about under the accelerator. But for this, you don't have to be a well-established business in existence for a number of years. With this, you could be a startup, and there will be events. There will be short training programs that persons can benefit from, mentorship advice, socials, and that sort of a thing. So persons can look for all of that to be rolled out again in the month of August.
Oh, sounds good. So Karen, tell me a little bit about, I know you said August 9 would be when they can do the IP registration drive, right? Mm-hmm. Before that, if they want more information just about, how it works, whether they would qualify, what they probably would need to get together in the meantime,
mm-hmm.
How can they get that information?
So there is a page, notwithstanding the fact that, let me tell you I'm going to drop the link in the chat because I think that might be helpful. But there is a page on the Kingston Creative website. It's kingstoncreative.org/createch-business-registration drive. So I'm going to drop it in the chat. So persons who are on the call will be able to, if they're interested, look into that some more. So there it is. Yeah, the KingstonCreative.org Createch Business Registration Drive.
Okay, lovely. So there you guys have it. August 9 is when you can check the website for information on how to register for these initiatives. And the link again is kingstoncreative.org. Well, there you have it, Createch Business Registration Drive. I think tech support just shared it with everyone. We could have that link also shared to YouTube by our support team as well. So you guys can have that information for more information as well. Thank you so much, Karen, for that clarification. Much needed and much appreciated as well. So thank you very much. We're gonna try to see if we can connect with Garfield again. Let's see if he's able to hear us. Hi, Garfield. And here you can hear me when you are muted. Let's unmute you and see if you're able to hear me now. Can you hear me now?
I sure can.
Oh, lovely. Welcome finally to our chat. Now, Garfield, talk to me a little bit about what you do. I mean, introduce yourself to our friends to tell them about, what are the things that you work on.
Hi, my name is Garfield Williams from the Trenchtown Ceramics and Art Center. From Trenchtown originally, and I'm, honored to be here on the Kingston Creative, Meetup. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Now, talk to me a little bit about how you got started in the whole ceramics area. I mean, that's not something that a lot of creatives are in, but there are some in Jamaica, and there may be some here in our chat and our audience as well. How did you get started working on that?
Well, I was always a lover of art in school. I was always, second, and especially in high school, the whole, term of high school, I was always a lover of art in second art class. My best friend right now is today, Julian Tapier. He was always first. He's always ahead of me. And it was always a challenge. But my mother is actually the one that actually, I would say, riveted into me, or, Jehovah'd me in a sense where that's how I actually came back to Jamaica, by learning the skill, because she was actually on her part-time when she wasn't working for the Toronto Hilton. She was actually going to ceramic classes, learning the whole ceramic, creativeness of it. When she was here in Jamaica before she went abroad to Toronto, she always wanted to be an art student of Edna Manley, but because of the financial part of it, she wasn't able to go to classes to study the ceramic or to study pottery. It's when she emerged and was in Toronto, in Canada. She took ceramic courses, and she was actually the one that taught me the whole steps and the procedure of it. By she was actually making products and sending it back here to shipping it back home to Jamaica for sales throughout the family and friends, Higgler's downtown. And I actually just came home and loved that whole concept of that business, and actually learning the whole trade, the whole skill of it was something I never knew it would take me this far. And it was just overwhelming to know that when I came home with it, I was able to, teach individuals, kids, anybody who was interested in learning it.
Lovely. Thank you so much for sharing that. And we appreciate your mom for taking the time to teach you such an amazing skill as well. I mean, we know your work is all throughout Jamaica and in different spaces. What was it like for you when you just started out actually selling these products? Were there any challenges that you faced, and how did you, overcome those?
Well, yeah, there was a lot of challenges. My accident, for one. Gee, here I sound, I don't really sound like a Jamaican. So that was always, a hurdle for people to, I don't know, believe that I am Jamaican and believe that the products were actually being made here. A lot of persons at first thought the products were being made overseas and, shipped here. And that was a challenge, like showing people and letting people know that the products were actually made here in Jamaica. That was one of the biggest challenges. And once overcoming that, it was actually just overwhelming how everything just picked up. But just getting the word out, getting the awareness out. What would I have to say now? I was new in the whole realms of the art field, ceramic, the pottery, coming back home and just, bursting at the seams with just getting everybody to believe that it's not something from overseas, and not because I have the accent. It's Jamaican. We tried my utmost best with the persons I collaborated with up until now. Persons like Philip Superstar, everybody who I touched or who touched me in the whole realms of ceramics, pottery, was always giving me that inspiration, that vibes that you got to make it more authentic. You got to make it Jamaican. You got to get more deeper into the culture and what the tourists, not only the tourists, but the locals, what they like, and what they like to have in their homes, have in their surroundings.
Yeah, and I'm happy that you're able to overcome that to show that, these are, made in Jamaica. And I mean, was it a case where there are persons who are not necessarily used to having these products in their homes and offices? Was that a challenge that you had to overcome as well in introducing this to different customers or different persons within the space?
Oh yeah, back in I would say in the early 2000s, what I realized coming back home and venturing into this whole ceramic and venture, and realizing that the tourist sector, I have to mention before I get further into this topic or this conversation that I have to commend the everybody on board, the tourist linkage with the ministry, and everybody who has played a great part in making the awareness out there that our Jamaican artisans, our Jamaican pieces, the art itself, it's very valuable, and it's bursting at the seams, and we need to project that out to the world and let them know that we have. Because the first thing I noticed when arriving here in Jamaica, getting into the whole industry, was that a lot of the products on the North Coast, even in Kingston here, was mostly imported. A lot of our products here that I saw on the shelves were imported from China, Indonesia, a lot of different places that carry our brand. And it was overwhelming to know how much products were shipped into Jamaica, whether or not ordered online, or clients actually leaving here, Jamaica, and going overseas and purchasing these products and having them shipped back. That was a drive for me to not to really prove, but to show that, personally myself in the product which I want to host as a Jamaican brand, that it's real and it's coming from Jamaica. You know what I mean? And I found other artists along the journey that are also passionate about like what's going on in the industry. That a lot of the shelves are being filled with products from other countries.
That's so important.
That was
It's
one of
important to ensure that our products are also here and recognized for quality as well. And I think that segues me into my next question I want to ask you is what recommendation, or what are what would you say it would take for someone who is interested in a field like yours? What does it take to become successful as an artist like you, creating that kind of work? Like, what are some things that you would share with somebody who is, you know, whether in it and struggling as a creative entrepreneur, or thinking about, you know, starting out to actually make money from that craft? What are some points that you would give to them that would be very crucial to their success?
For one, you have to be very patient. Patience is one of the key. I've been hearing this from I'm young, you know, patient man ride donkey. So, and there's a real significant point to that phrase. And also, I love anything that you're doing nowadays, whether big, small, you have to have a love. You have to have the love for anything that you're putting your foot into. Also, a focus. You know, those three things right there is something that's been driving me for over 10 years now to, you know, to fine tune the quality, the look of the product, and to get it recognized. That wasn't easy. And it took a lot of patience and, like I said, focus and the love. You know, if you don't love what you're doing, it doesn't make sense to get into it. Find something that you love. I tell people every day that in art, you can make money and you will make money, but you have to have those three qualities. And, you know, be willing to share. You know, I grew up in a country where, you know, each one teach one. We are our brother's keepers. And I find that it is a big competition here. And we're all, I would say, stars. We're all, you know, anybody in the art industry. I love everybody's art because I go to a lot of shows and I see what Jamaica has to offer, and it's overwhelming. And we just need to stay positive and know one day that our brand and we ourselves as artisans will shine, and you know, our product will stand as a brand Jamaica.
Love that, and I love those points. You know, of just being able to be patient with your work and the work that you put into it, and also having to love what you do. Would you say, or how important would you say, you know, having mentors were for you as you were introduced to this craft and being able to build it? How important were mentors for you, and for anybody else in this field that you're in?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the last?
Sure. I was asking you how important were mentors in helping you to be as successful as you are now?
I would say very, very important, because throughout the struggle, there's times when, you know, that your products aren't selling, and when somebody can reach out to you and let you know that, you know, just hold on, that it will get better, or try something new, or shape it this way, or try to color it this way. It brings myself, and I know other individuals, it brings a lot of hope into, you know, the whole art industry when we each can appreciate each other's works and you know, help along the way with advice and, you know, just a heads up, because that's what we sometimes need, just that pat on the shoulder to say, look, try it this way, just to encourage. A lot of us, I think, you know, help each other along the way with those word sounds that we encourage each other.
Love that. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And thank you for sharing your story with us as well. I'd love for you to share with the friends online how they can get access to some of your work, you know, how they can actually purchase some of what you have created. Where can they go? How can they get in touch with you?
My personal line is 876-502-3368. That's my direct line. There's also IG page and a Facebook page. It's Trenchtown Art Center at Trenchtown Vibes. Trenchtown Art Center. Yeah, Trenchtown Art Center on IG and on WhatsApp, with the number. We're also, if anybody's, we're always welcoming people to Trenchtown. The art center is open to everybody and anybody of all ages and diaspora, wherever you're from. I know a lot of persons are concerned about the violence and the mayhem that is taking place in Trenchtown. I really have to let persons know that it's not everywhere in the community. There's certain hotspots there in the community, and it does traumatize some persons, whether inside of the community or persons outside of the community that have families that are there. But I'm there, and I try to create a safe haven for visitors that that want to come, and the kids from the community and the surrounding areas. It's not as bad as it seems. A lot of the mishaps that's there. It's a lot of it's internal, and sometimes it's hard to how would you say, caution somebody or soften a blow when there's a lot of pain there. There's a lot of love there too, and there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of turmoil, the kids, the adults, the women, the young at-risk youths. But I do welcome anybody that wants to come to the art center, and there is a safe haven there as long as they're willing to come.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us, and thank you for inviting us all to visit the Trenchtown Art Center to see your work, purchase it, and just experience a lot more of who you are as an artist and a creative. And so really appreciate you sharing your story with us and joining us today for this chat. We loved it. I mean, tonight has been such a wonderful evening of different creative entrepreneurs, including yourself, sharing their stories with us. So thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much, and have a good evening and a safe one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks to everyone for joining us for the Kingston Creative Meetup. What a wonderful, amazing night we've had, talking about creative entrepreneurship and how we can be successful at it. We thank all our panelists for joining us, and you, our lovely audience, for joining us as well. We thank you very much, and we wish you a wonderful evening.